This week in games, we have to talk about Xbox putting all its best exclusives on PlayStation, breaking down the PlayStation State of Play, rumors saying that there's a new PlayStation handheld on the horizon, and Call of Duty choosing to stay open world.
This is the Two Penny Gamescast. What's poppin', players? Welcome back to the Two Penny Gamescast, episode 185. I am your host, Tavin Bothel, here with my good friend and co-host. Say hello to the people, Connor Elliott.
Hello. He calls me a good friend on the show, but he says harsher things outside of it.
No, okay. All right, hold on. Ladies and gentlemen, we got to break it down the way that things happened here. You can, of course, watch us live over at twitch.tv/twopennagames, where we record these shows live for you to view as your viewing pleasure. Otherwise, you can get this show every Tuesday at 8 a.m. Central Time at youtube.com/@twopennagames. We live stream on Monday at like 6-ish, 6:30-ish today. You know, as soon as I can get home. We do it, you know? That's what happens, all right? So here's the thing, is we did the piggy bank first because the piggy bank requires our great fill. Piggy banks you can catch usually Saturday, 8 a.m. Central Time on YouTube and mainstream podcast services of your choice. And this week, Connor decided to just be a brain-dead moron on this week's episode of the Piggy Bank.
Who is that? What is that?
Who is that?
Fly?
Who is that? Who could that even be?
I don't know what that fly is.
Yeah,
Ignore
piggy
it.
bank. Wee.
That's the other member of the Two Penny Games cast, Phil Shoemaker.
Now, Connor, explain to the people how Resident Evil Remake is the same game as Resident Evil 1.
I didn't say it is. In the context of the list, it should have been, it was the only one on there, and Tavin demanded that there's a differentiation between the remake and the original, despite on our book game club saying the original Resident Evil only as Resident Evil, despite the fact that
What, you want me to put an R on it? You want me to put HD on it? I'll put HD on it, Connor.
You can now, but back then, when you first made it, you didn't, so this is an after-the-fact correction.
Okay.
You're moving the goalpost,
Okay.
Tavin. You're
No,
moving the goalpost. You're moving it. You're moving
But
it.
the thing is,
I caught you in the fucking
the thing is, Connor,
thing.
is like, if we go back and play the original Resident Evil 4 Game Club, then yeah, that one becomes RE1, this one becomes RE1 HD.
Yeah. But you didn't differentiate it either way. You're acting like this is common knowledge that when
But
someone
also,
makes
Connor,
differentiations-
you know we're not dealing with a list made by us. You know we're dealing with a list made by somebody random.
But
and you also know that the list is going to have multiple versions of the same game on the list, i.e. Resident Evil 4, i.e. Resident Evil 4 Remake. You also probably know that there's a good chance that Resident Evil 1 is not going to be on the list, the original game. And if it is, it's going to be extremely low. So why, when number 1 is on the board, would you say Resident Evil 1?
Because when people mean Resident Evil 1, they typically mean the remake. You included in that category based off how you discussed it before.
Ladies and gentlemen, this show comes to you live every Tuesday at 8 a.m. Central Time, youtube.com/@twopennagames. I meant to go with the Twitch route again, but I went the YouTube route. You can watch it on YouTube at Tuesdays, whatever. This guy's fucking moron. Anyways, what happens is me and Connor, we bring to you the new news you need to know concerning the video game industry. We each come to you with 2 topics, 2 pennies, if you will, and we give you our 2 cents on them. And Connor, we should not be arguing about what happened on the Piggy Bank, which you can catch this Saturday at 8 a.m. Central Time, youtube.com/@twopennagames and mainstream podcast services of your choice. But we should be getting right into the fucking news. Because boy, oh boy, we've got a lot to talk about this week, including our first topic of the day and my first penny. Let's talk about all of the things Xbox, Microsoft going third party, Xbox games being on PlayStation. So first, I'm going to start with where this story started, all right? This story started over the weekend and then has since evolved even as early as Monday morning, all right? It just keeps evolving, and by the time you watch this, it may already be out of date, you know, because there's a thing happening later in the week. We don't know when, but it's happening. So just keep up with us. Also, it's worth saying, PlayStation State of Play reaction to the Final Fantasy VII Rebirth will be on the channel later today. You can watch us record that reaction live over at twitch.tv/2pennygames at 5:30 p.m. Central Time. That's when it starts. That's when we're watching it. It's when we're putting it up. So keep your eyes out on Twitch. Keep your eyes out on YouTube. Make sure you like and subscribe and share with a friend so that it can get circulating. So, back to Xbox. I'm pulling a Kotaku article from Kenneth Shepard. Indiana Jones, Starfield, PS5 reports suggest a major Xbox pivot. A number of leaks happened over the weekend that seemed to have big implications for Microsoft's Xbox plans moving forward. Reports from The Verge and Xbox Era claim that two major Bethesda releases, Indiana Jones and The Great Circle and Starfield, could both come to PlayStation 5, adding to the pile of Xbox multiplayer rumors that have been piling up over the past few months. It is worth noting we did talk about it when Hi-Fi Rush was being talked about and Sea of Thieves was being talked about. I believe all just rumors of it possibly coming to PlayStation 5 at some point in the near future. This was then ducktailed by a report from Video Game Chronicles. Microsoft is reportedly considering bringing Gears of War to PlayStation. This is a VGC article from, where's the byline? Tom Ivan. Microsoft is reporting considering bringing Gears of War franchise to PlayStation. That's according to Giant Bomb's Jeff Grubb, who was elaborating on recent claims that Microsoft is working on a new initiative to release more Xbox-exclusive games on other console platforms. Over the weekend, it was... we're talking about the Hi-Fi Rush and the Sea of Thieves things. And then finally, it was a whole big hubbub, Connor. Everybody was crying about it. Everybody was screaming, oh no, death to Xbox. It's all over. Pack it up, guys. Xbox has betrayed us. Why are we even buying Xbox consoles? Xbox doesn't believe in a console anymore. Yada, yada, yada. Everybody was crying. Everybody was throwing a big fit. Everybody was making a big deal about it. Phil Spencer tweeted over on his X account, at XP3, quote, "We're listening and we hear you. We've been planning a business update event for next week, where we look forward to sharing more details with you about our vision for the future of Xbox. Stay tuned." Connor, we've mentioned it before. We had an in-depth discussion about the possibility of Hi-Fi Rush, about Sea of Thieves coming to Xbox. Or, I'm sorry, coming to PlayStation 5. We've had a conversation about Sea of Thieves and Hi-Fi Rush coming to PlayStation 5. We had a conversation about how that would probably be a healthy thing for Xbox overall. Get the smaller, cooler, new IP out on other platforms so people can play it and find out how amazing it is. And then the second one will come out probably on the next generation of consoles. It'll be bigger, it'll be better, it'll be badder, and people will have to buy the next generation of Xbox to get it, you know? Sea of Thieves is a... games of service free to play? Question mark.
I don't say it is.
I think it is.
But
at least through Game Pass, at least, which I know isn't free, but you know, etc. That has been doing very well for many years at this point, and so it just makes sense to open the floodgates of that. Put it on PC, put it on PS5, put it on everything you can put it on, so that that game can continue living and breathing and thriving, because it is a games of service game. So now, we turn our attention to Starfield. We turn our attention to Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. Both of which are reportedly, I guess, getting PlayStation 5 ports. Starfield, specifically, we have more details about it getting the port after their first big expansion that is going to launch on Xbox first. And then PlayStation 5 players will get Starfield, the base game. Gears of War, we don't know in what capacity that series will come to PlayStation, if it comes to PlayStation. There's also been conversations that Halo Master Chief Collection and maybe even Halo Infinite making its way over to PlayStation. Boy, if I could time travel 15 years in the past and tell my younger self that, he would not believe me. But here we are. Here's what all of these rumors and leaks and things are happening here. I am of so many minds on this choice, and I have so many different thoughts about it that I don't even know where to begin. So let me, I haven't talked to you about this at all. The internet is blowing up, crying about it. Everybody's calling Phil Spencer an asshole. Everybody's calling Xbox personalities in the game's commentary space liars and so on and so forth. First of all, if you're doing that, you should stop. You're an idiot. Point blank. But Connor, where are you at with this story? What are you thinking about it, and sort of where are your thoughts on it overall?
Well, my thoughts on it are tied up with the casting off of companies. Microsoft, PlayStation, Nintendo. It, as a general rule, is always a great thing when games aren't held up by the platforms. It should be as easy to play as many games as possible for everyone. And Xbox has always been more willing to do so. PlayStation's really been the one who's been problematic on this front. A good way to look at it is many games, pretty much actually any game that's on Xbox nowadays is also on PC. The same can't be said for PlayStation 5 and PC. With the ZeniMax acquiring and the acquiring of ZeniMax and the acquiring of Bethesda, of Activision Blizzard, it was kind of brought into question on whether those games are going to be available for PlayStation. And I remember at the time, Phil Spencer kind of seemed to say, we might. He kind of floated like it could go anyway, but it smelled like he was just going to keep it on an Xbox because, of course, that was kind of general practice to keep the games that you own on your console, so all of the money's coming to you. But
they also made their deals with Nintendo, with PlayStation, with NVIDIA, and a bunch of other things of keeping Call of Duty multi-platform for at least the next 10 years. So
that was
even though Xbox owns Call of Duty, they're putting it everywhere.
Yeah, it was more, people were more worried about like Elder Scrolls as far as their acquisitions have gone. And this breaking news seems to indicate that they're willing to just cast that original idea off of just keeping it on an Xbox and making it for consoles in general. And overall, this makes tons of sense. As of right now, one of their big models is Games Pass, where you're able to pay a monthly subscription and have access to a wide variety of titles, some of which come out on day one, like, for example, the most recent Persona 3 Reload. And so while you have that system in play, a lot of people are going to play your Microsoft Xbox games through Game Pass because it saves you money. It's a good deal. But the issue is that it took away from raw game sales, which is, people kind of question on whether how that would look down the line, because Game Pass might be good in the short term, but long term, when people are just paying the subscription and you see a halting of subscriptions, well, you're going to see a pretty substantial drop in your earnings because people aren't buying your mainline games.
And you look at you just look outwardly when it comes to streaming services or anything that is Game Pass like. You look at what Spotify, Apple Music has done to the music industry. It's fucking ruined it. Netflix and Amazon Prime and HBO Max has had a dramatic, you could say, negative effect on film and TV.
And interesting you say that. I'm going to take it away from video games specifically for a second. It still relates to it. There's a famous YouTube series called Hot Ones, where people eat wings, and they're spicy, of course, and people are interviewed there. It kind of breaks down their barriers and whatnot.
You know what it is.
Yeah, you know what it is. This week, Matt Damon was on Hot Ones. I just saw a clip from it where he was effectively talking about DVD sales and how
that's old.
it's old, but the whole bit was that there was a time when DVD sales, when those would come out, would be a new wave of income that movies could gain. They didn't have to make it all back at the box office, but that was entirely screwed up with streaming services like Netflix because it kind of defeated the purpose of selling those things. Game Pass, I see, is kind of a similar situation. They're missing out on a lot of those raw game sales. And the way this ties back into PlayStation is if they were to start offering their Halos, their Gears of War to an entirely new market on an entirely different console, they can make more money. Because even though it's going to be on PlayStation and obviously they take their cut, it is at the core of it Microsoft games, whether it's Gears of War, Starfield, whatever. And they're going to see some of that income. Now, it's it's common knowledge that PlayStation has overwhelmingly outsold on the newest Xbox, and Sony just makes more money in general worldwide. And so, in light of those recent stories, which Phil Spencer, I believe, has commented on in the past, so obviously it's in his, his frame of his mind all the time. This seems like a way to circumvent that while also just bringing more games to players. And Phil Spencer, being a very social media-based guy, he likes being the face of Xbox. This is a good way for him to extend that influence in a positive way by saying, hey, we're not going to be so anal about it being on our stuff. It's just going to be for you to play on whatever console you see fit. And so I think this is a brilliant idea to be able to tap into markets that aren't just on the consoles you own. Because back when I was in high school, the whole entire conversation of the console war was big, and people took sides very harshly. You even still see it now, despite those barriers being broken down more. And that shows that they're still up to some degree. And this is also another way to just eradicate it entirely. There's no reason to be preventing people from playing Starfield if all they own is PlayStation. Because, why not? It's a game. People like playing games. There's no reason to hold it unless you're trying to be greedy
because
and have
it
as
doesn't
much
go
money as
both
possible.
ways.
By what?
That's why. Because PlayStation doesn't do it. Nintendo
Yes, exactly,
doesn't
yeah.
do it. None of the other big three does it. So why does Xbox keep doing it? Why should I, as a consumer, spend $500 on a box to buy into the exclusives that you have promised me just to give the exclusives away to the other guy when I could have just bought into the other guy, waited a few years and gotten Starfield there, and still been able to play Spider-Man 2, and still been able to play Final Fantasy VII Remake, and still been able to play God of War Ragnarok. Instead, I went with you because you had Starfield. You're going to have Elder Scrolls. And now you have Call of Duty and Overwatch and all these other huge IP. So why did I invest my money in you when I could have done it to the other guy, could have gotten all the games in the world? Now, granted, I agree with you. Console wars stuff is stupid. Like, I don't subscribe to it. Play the game wherever you want to play it. I don't really care. I personally prefer playing my games on a PlayStation console. I grew up a PlayStation guy. PlayStation reigned dominant last generation, and and I don't like playing on PC. That's me. That's my choice, right? But I have very, very seriously been thinking about getting an Xbox console the last 6 months to a year, specifically when Starfield came out and it didn't run on my shitty gaming laptop. I've been seriously thinking about getting an Xbox, waiting for the mid-gen refresh that we got because of those Microsoft leaks that we saw. But now, why should I? Your biggest and best games keep coming to other platforms. Cuphead is on other platforms. Ori is on other platforms. Hollow Knight is on other platforms. Why would I go to you if you're just going to keep doing it now with your mainline IP? Hi-Fi Rush is coming over. Sea of Thieves is coming over. Starfield's coming over. Indiana Jones in the Great Circle is coming over. Do you know how much of an easy lock that is, Xbox, to make people buy your box? Maybe not this generation, but when that mid-gen refresh comes up, I'm not buying a PS5 Pro. I wanted to buy an Xbox, but now I don't see the point.
The problem as of right now is, once again, all you need to do is look at the sales. Xbox performs, underperforms massively.
From a business perspective, it makes sense.
It does. And this whole entire, I get people being upset of, like, hey, I got miffed.
And I'm playing devil's advocate.
No, I know you are.
Yeah, my personal stance is put all the games everywhere.
Yeah, and that's ultimately what matters more. I understand people who are like, I bought the Microsoft console to get Microsoft games. Why? I feel like it was a waste. I feel sorry for you, but ultimately...
they specifically chose to not get the PlayStation,
to
not get the Switch. They specifically chose Starfield, Indiana Jones, Hi-Fi Rush over Spider-Man, over Ghost of Tsushima, over Last of Us, over all of these great, phenomenal games. They chose, no, I don't want that. I want this.
Yeah, and it sucks for you. It's one of those situations where even though it might suck for you, it's better for gaming as a whole. So sorry, if you really feel strongly about it, as much as it might suck, you just got to take the L for the greater good. Sorry. But
why did they have to take the L when everybody else is getting a W?
Well, because once again, I'll draw back to their console shares. They did it obviously as they've always done it, releasing a console alongside PlayStation. It's been the way ever since the first Xbox and the first PlayStation.
When it's time for tech upgrades, everyone usually comes together and does it at the same time.
Exactly, and it's not working for you guys sales-wise. For Microsoft, you've tried with your exclusive games, with your Game Pass, and even still, you're being blown out of the water by PlayStation.
Now, undoubtedly, this is definitely setting groundwork to put Game Pass on PlayStation.
Yeah. It's just that's the second step. You want to see how this first one does, which you would think would work because you're just bringing their games onto a whole other market. They're just going to make you get more money.
Yeah.
And if PlayStation's open for it, big if, because PlayStation are the ones that, if you anything, should be upset about. Give credit to Microsoft for being the first to reach across the aisle and say, okay, we're just going to drop all the barriers and just go for it. If anyone, be upset at PlayStation, who have been stubborn to do anything with Microsoft because they themselves are caught up in the culture war.
I don't disagree. I don't disagree. But now PlayStation also has the hubris to go, you're going to buy our console.
Yeah. I mean, hey, they were winning already without having to do anything.
It is not an uncommon thing to say, I play games on PC, I play games on Xbox, but I buy the PlayStation for their exclusives. It's not an uncommon thing to say. It's why you have a PlayStation 5.
Yeah.
It's for the PlayStation 5 exclusive games.
My
Because
PC.
you know they're the cream of the crop.
Yeah.
You know? But for those who are not blessed enough to have more than one option at a time, they go, I loved Skyrim. Skyrim was one of my favorite games. You know, I gotta go Xbox because that's where Starfield is gonna be. That's where Elder Scrolls 6 is gonna be. You know, so now I've made that investment, and I feel cheated because I could have gone the other way and played way more games, had way more access. I loved Spider-Man 2018. I loved it. You know, maybe I had a PlayStation 4, but then I switched sides.
Yeah.
You know, maybe that happened. I don't know what the percentage of that is. Probably not very high, but surely somebody did it, right?
Yeah.
And honestly, 2 weeks ago, I would have said, you're probably at this rate better off buying an Xbox at this point. You know? Game Pass, hundreds of games, $10 a month, fucking awesome. They've got great exclusives lined up for the entire year. This looks like to be a great software launch year for Xbox, something they have not had in years.
Yeah. And they
and now Indiana Jones and the Great Circle is coming to PlayStation 5. 9-10 months before it releases on Xbox, you're telling us this? Now Halo, which is the crown jewel of Xbox, is coming to PlayStation. Now Gears of War, which has always been a great co-op shooter for a lot of people, is coming to PlayStation. Why are you selling your identity away? Now, again, I'm with you. Blame PlayStation for this. PlayStation, there's no reason that you're not putting your games everywhere a year after release. I understand they're experimenting with PC stuff. Death Stranding is on fucking mobile phones, you know? What else is on PC? The Horizon games, God of War, Spider-Man, all of these games are coming to PC eventually. But it's had, you know, mixed success, right? Like, you haven't really heard about Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart selling crazy well on PC, right? You've heard terrible stories about how The Last of Us Part 1 was a train wreck of a port to PC, right? But there have been many successes. And some ones where you go, oh, maybe that didn't work out so well. Uncharted 4, I don't think did anything on PC when it went to PC. But God of War did. But Spider-Man did. Those did numbers. So, hey, Sony, you make games for gamepad. Why are you focusing on putting it all on PC? Just put it on an Xbox. I'm with that. That is my perspective. Now, if you want to do a year of exclusivity, fine. Play it first here, a full year in advance. Yeah, most of your sales are going to be in the first 3 months. So, yeah, that makes sense. But there's no reason why we can't get a little, I don't know, 30% boost in a year or two when those games do come to Xbox. Guess what, man? If these rumors are true and Halo comes to PlayStation 5, I'm fucking playing Halo on PlayStation 5 from here until the end of time. Because that's my preferred console.
Yeah.
It's where I like to play my video games. And I would love to get... I'm a trophy guy. I would love to get platinum trophies for each and every Halo game. It would be so fucking dope.
And I'll tie this into a question that was put by Einkun, Mr. Einkun, in the chat. Of should I be canceling my PSN? Because
no, yeah, clearly you should not.
That's the thing, and it kind of sucks because my initial reaction is to say yes, you should cancel it. I say that because PSN has increased their rates, and now this just serves as a good justification to just keep on doing that or to stick with it. Now that Xbox games, which arguably have a better online landscape than I would say PlayStation games are, at least from my perspective, especially if Halo gets included and Gears of War.
People play Siege on Xbox. People play Call of Duty on Xbox. Yeah,
PC as well.
Yeah,
you know, should you cancel it? I think you should if you have like a PC, but if you don't, if you're just like a PlayStation gamer, you probably if you play online games.
I mean, granted, Connor, have you full out canceled your PlayStation Plus?
No, I keep forgetting.
Exactly.
But it's because I'm stupid, not because I'm actually making an active choice.
What was that? Run that back one more time. What'd you say?
It's Because I'm stupid.
You're goddamn right you are. No, but now I have to sit here and wonder, yo, what is going on over at Xbox? All of these are leaks. Gears of War came from Jeff Grubb. Starfield and Indiana Jones came from Xbox era. What? And you're also peppering them out through the week.
I mean, information gets leaked, and then you have Phil Spencer's tweet.
But why is it happening on different days from different sources?
Well, if there's so many titles that are possibly going to come into PlayStation, you might not know it from the get-go.
But usually when these things happen, it all happens.
Usually it happens.
It's not over the course of a week where it happens.
But how often do you have this many games completely change from console to new console?
But also, how many leaks has Xbox had in the last year? And maybe they're sick of it. Maybe all this is a bunch of malarkey.
It could be.
Maybe it's them trying to flush out who these leaks are going to. And they're saying, hey, let's tell this team that maybe this game is coming to Xbox. Let's tell these guys that this other game is coming to Xbox. And let's see where those things lie. Let's see where those things end up.
I feel like for a business move, especially Xbox and Phil Spencer, who have been pretty good at it, that would be dumb.
Have they?
Yeah.
And that's my thing, is how good is Xbox at their business right now? Because Phil Spencer's out here tweeting, we're listening and we hear you. How many times have we heard Phil Spencer say that in the last 2 years? A lot. A lot. Way more than you should, right? So now we have to sit here and go, hey, man, why are you only reactive? Why are you not actively chasing things? Why are you never ahead of your own PR?
Well, admittedly, any single time they tried to, whether it's in the form of games or their features like Game Pass, they're still always behind. Nothing they do in that regard works out. It's like PlayStation has gone to the top of the hill, and that's where they're staying. I see people re-examining the original reveal of the PS4 and the Xbox One and how bad Xbox handled it. And that seems to be kind of the beginning of their loss in the game console market.
Oh, yeah.
And I think when you on the
they were a heavy-duty
side,
competitor in the 360 PS3 generation. They were a heavy-duty
arguably on top.
competitor. For a while.
Yeah.
For a while. I think overall PlayStation has won every generation that they've been a part of.
Yeah, I don't think
but, I mean, the only argument you could say is the Nintendo Switch. You know?
And
Like,
Xbox 360.
Yeah. But now I'm seeing people online saying, hey, these decisions are just as bad as that. This is Xbox TV all over again.
This is not as bad as that.
This is not as bad.
Not even that. It's not even. It's even arguable about whether it's bad or not, much less as bad.
If you have if you're using an educated perspective and seeing all sides of this conversation, yes. And also, if Phil Spencer believes that Xbox has lost the console war, whatever that is, then why would he care about a box? So now I ask you, Connor, does Xbox care about selling a console?
I mean, they always could, but at the same time, they have the PC market. Microsoft Windows is the standard for PC gaming, and that's way better than Xbox's gaming.
There's no PC hardware developer that is also a publisher of video games.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, Xbox is a publisher of video games, and so they care about selling the games alongside their box. But my question is, do they still care about the box?
But the box isn't selling as much as PlayStation is.
But somebody just spent $500 on your box. Somebody did that.
Yeah.
They chose you. And it's fucked up to then go, you didn't have to.
Well, people vote with their dollars, and the voting shows that the winner is PlayStation. So ultimately, as much as you might want to try and be dedicated to that fan base, that group that elevated your console to where it is, it wasn't enough in the grand scheme of things. And this seems to be a much smarter move to balance that all out while still being able to make money. Because what matters is two things: whether the company can stay afloat and whether the art they can create is good. All of these conversations we're having on bringing over to PlayStation, the art isn't impacted. I think that's just ultimately dependent on the developers themselves and how they make the exact games. I don't think so. No.
I mean, we've always said exclusives are peak, right?
But
because they're able to develop these games. Because at the end of the day, it's technology we're talking about. It's not just talent and skill. It's also the technology is a factor in this conversation. We've always talked about how PlayStation has just the best running, best looking, best playing games. Mm-hmm. You know, like PlayStation has the cream of the crop games, like when you talk one by one. Now, most of them are third-person action adventure narrative-based games, and that may not be your cup of tea. You may only like your first-person shooters, in which case PlayStation doesn't hold much water for you. But everybody likes Spider-Man. And I guarantee you, everybody who bought an Xbox would love to be playing Spider-Man.
Yeah.
But they're not going to be able to because they made a choice to go with Starfield. But the PlayStation guys didn't have to make that choice.
No.
That's kind of fucked up.
It is. But, I mean, you talk about...
No, I agree with you.
Yeah, I know.
This is just the way of the world. Hey, we live in a capitalistic society. This is why capitalism sucks. You fucking idiots who are out here like, oh, you communistic libtard. Da, da, da. Hey, moron, this is why you lose.
I was just going to say that you can buy Xbox games on PC, so their console is null and void in my eyes. I mean, PC does way more. And what's the point in having an Xbox?
It doesn't do way more.
It does exceptionally more.
It doesn't do
It literally is better in every way, shape, and form than the new Xbox and plays the same games.
I mean, you say that, Connor. We tried to play Tekken 8 the other night, and you couldn't even get your fucking controller to work.
Did we play it?
We did.
And then what I did...
But how much troubleshooting did you have to do, Connor?
That was my fight stick, not the game itself. And then later that night, we watched anime on my PC, like that.
You can watch anime on the PlayStation.
Also YouTube. I mean, like, you access it way easier than going through the... I'm going to press the Xbox button, and then I'm going to go over to the YouTube app and then load the YouTube app.
It's not that much different.
It is substantially different when I just move the mouse over, middle click, oh, there's the tab open. Thanks, Internet. You came up right away, and I can watch anything I want on a keyboard instead of doing the controller, which is ineffective comparatively.
Just plug a keyboard in.
You're just making it more complicated when you can just have it on the PC already there because it's a PC.
I mean, my problem has never been the keyboard mouse. I make fun of the keyboard mouse, but my problem has never been the keyboard mouse.
No, it's not. No? But it's one of the benefits.
There are genres where undeniably games play better with a keyboard and mouse.
And vice versa.
And vice versa. Exactly. My problem is the machinery. Why do I need an update all the fucking time?
Because I can.
And why is it an update that's not involved in the game? It's a fucking. I gotta go fucking upgrade a driver and fucking do all this other bullshit. Anyways.
And meanwhile, you can watch porn easily. So there you go. Win.
Connor, is this a good move for Xbox?
Yeah, I think it's a great move. I think any issues you're going to have with PR are just going to be something you need to brace and deal with from the initial brunt, and then afterwards you're really going to see the money roll in, which. Once again, as a company like Microsoft, is just good for you.
Well, we're certainly going to see because it doesn't look like PlayStation is backing off on their approach to exclusive anytime soon, and that is showcased in the most recent State of Play that happened this last week. Ladies and gentlemen, we bring you to topic number 2, my second penny of the day, State of Play, January 2024. Let's do a breakdown. Let's talk about it, and let's talk about everything that was shown off on here. We're gonna try and get through this a little faster than that last topic because I think there's still a lot of meat on the bone here, but not as much as maybe on that Xbox conversation. So let's jump right into it. Connor, we watched the PlayStation State of Play. There's a reaction video up on the channel, youtube.com/@2pennygames. Me and Phil watched it. You can watch our reaction to it right away. And I'll tell you what I said there. I think this is a pretty good State of Play. It's pretty good. Is it excellent? Is it the best we've ever seen? No. But is it bad? By far, no. This is pretty good. I liked it. Solid B+. You know? Yeah. If they were all like this, I'd be a very happy gamer. You know what I mean? We're going to get into it, but highlights for me were the ones that they promised were going to be there. Well, actually not Stellar Blade, but Rise of the Ronin looks fantastic. There were a couple of other smaller titles there that looked excellent as well. But most surprisingly, Death Stranding 2 on the beach looks awesome. Can't wait. Kojima at his full power and just going full Kojima with it, and it looks like a substantial upgrade from the first Death Stranding. So I'm shockingly, it's probably my most anticipated game. On the horizon right now, you know? Well, maybe Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, but that's because it's so close. But I know what I'm getting there. You know, you never know what you're getting with a Kojima game. You know what I mean? And yeah, I'm very excited. But Connor, you watched it as well. What did you think?
I thought it was pretty good.
Hey,
What'd you say?
We agree.
Yeah, we agree. Good. Usually with these State of Plays or these showcases, they can kind of lean too heavily on the talking bit and not on the showing games thing. Xbox showcases recently. It was nice to see the developer background information, but you did that at the cost of really showing a lot of what the meat of those games had to offer.
I disagree.
Really?
Yeah.
Not like Avowed, not like Indiana Jones.
You got a great look at Avowed. I don't know what you mean.
But comparative to something like this, I feel like some of these did better in terms of their execution.
I don't know
like
if they did. Well, let's get into it here,
right.
Connor. And my first point is the game that is being shown was being shown first, Helldivers 2. Helldivers 2 has been marketed completely wrong by PlayStation, in my opinion. I don't think they've shown at all what makes Helldivers cool, what made the first game cool, why you want to play the second game. Everything they've shown in every state of play, in every PlayStation showcase of Helldivers 2, looks like a generic squad-based third-person shooter. It looks boring. It looks like I've seen this time and time again. And I'm not saying that's what Helldivers 2 is, because thank God, previews came out this week, and they started saying all the things I've been wanting to hear from the beginning. Hey, this is a great Starship Troopers parody game that is difficult. You have to work together. You have to work as a team, and the game will eat your lunch. That's what I want. That's what I should have been marketed. But I've been marketed a power fantasy with mechs and explosions and shooting a bunch of enemies and stuff. Like, it just doesn't, you're not showing why this game is special. You're not showing why this game is cool, and you're not showing us why we should pick it up and play it.
I agree with you in essence, but at the same time, you said it's kind of like a Starship Troopers type spoof.
It
for
is.
anyone that has, yeah, I know. But for anyone that's actually seen Starship Troopers, a feature of that is to basically give you propaganda. And then when you get into the nitty gritty of it, it's not so glamorous. And I feel like this is kind of emblematic of that, showing you these, awesome, badass set scenes. And then you get in the game and you're getting
fucking
fucked in the ass.
demolished.
Yeah. So in that sense, it's very good from an artistic perspective, but from a marketing perspective, yeah, they do fail because it does seem like it's the big.
You don't want to buy
power
the
fantasy.
game.
Yeah.
You know?
So I like how they've done it, but that's only from someone that's played the original and know what I'm getting, especially with the previews. They really should have done a lot better of a job this time around, because it's their last trailer for the game. And so it was the moment to tell people this is what you're getting from it.
I was not excited for Helldivers 2. I was interested and I wanted it to be good because I love the first game. But I was not excited for Helldivers 2 until those previews came out.
Yeah.
That's a problem.
It honestly, in hindsight, due to the fact that it's so, soon,
Yeah.
February 8th,
Yeah.
and
I
you'd
mean-
think you'd be more more descriptive of it rather than just doing a reveal trailer, especially since that's all we've really gotten so far.
Why are we not getting a deep dive?
Yeah, this should have been the deep dive.
This is the hey, guess what? Last of Us fell through. You don't have a multiplayer game coming. Maybe Concord, or whatever, or
Yeah.
free games or whatever. But this is your multiplayer suite right now, PlayStation. Helldivers. Why are you not giving us 10 minutes breaking down what it is?
And that's made worse by the fact I was going to bring up Death Stranding 2 on the beach for taking too much of the show, and frankly, it does, because as my criticism has always been, no, it's good. No, it is on quality, but the quality doesn't matter. It could have been bland, boring shit. It has Hideo Kojima on it, and they would have had him on there solely for that reason, which is why they gave them as much time.
Yeah.
But since it's, it was a good showing, really, Stellar Blade and the Silent Hill short memory, it was kind of a waste to show as much as they did.
And here's my thing. Let's jump straight into the next game, Stellar Blade. I've been excited for Stellar Blade this whole time. That was a terrible showing for Stellar Blade.
Yeah, it was not good.
It was boring. You didn't tell me what the game was. You didn't show me why the game was cool. The game is cool because of the action. And you didn't show me any of that. You didn't show me how the combat works.
It was just generic, like, do this in the open world. And it's what every open world game does.
It was the most mundane part of the game. Now, I walked away going, oh, I didn't know this game was that big. I didn't know we were reaching for these heights. Okay, my standard of the game is being reset. I'm actually overall expecting something more from the game. But I'm not quite as certain you're going to nail it.
Yeah. And it's near Automata inspired.
Clearly.
For most of it. The premise is copy. Let's call it what it is. It is a copy.
It's near Automata. It's Bayonetta.
It is. Now, my only thing is the premise, I'm not joking, verbatim Automata.
It looks a lot like, they've even got the little floating drone guy
They do,
next to you.
yeah. And that's stuff I can excuse, but it's like, you're really going to do that much of a blatant copy for your premise, for your core thing of the game? It almost makes me think that I know what they're going to do with the story, but
There's
the showcase,
enough different here that, like, Nier Automata does not attract me. Stellar Blade does. You know? So there's a sect of gamers who would like this more. I'm not talking about the quality of Nier Automata.
I know you're not. Yeah.
And I would probably bet money that Nier Automata is probably a better game over Stellar Blade, knowing nothing about Stellar Blade right now.
And that's kind of my thing, is that once again they showed just the features every open world game has. Like, wow, you unlock things.
This is like
crazy.
This is like if you jumped over to Final Fantasy VII Remake and you showed us walking around Sector 7 talking to NPCs and going on quests to find cats.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, cool. Thanks for fleshing out the world and making it big and expansive like that, but this is boring. Like, I'm bored. Like, can you show me Cloud taking on an airbuster, please?
And that kind of, if I'm going to be super critical, it kind of makes me worried that Stellar Blade is going to be a bland game. You know,
I don't think it's going to be bland. It has a chance to be bogged down and boring, but I don't think it's going to be bland.
But the reason I mainly say that is because, like I said, the premise is a copy of Nier Automata. The rest of it is inspired, which is fine. But I think when you're inspired,
They're not doing the multiple endings shit, are they?
I'm talking about the premise. Only the premise.
What, just that post-apocalyptic brown world with a little floating robot next to you?
Post-apocalyptic world where another type of being, androids in this game, are sent to battle against a race that has invaded Earth while all the other humans went on to the moon. That's literally it. Which, that's all, like I said, copy, but whatever. That does...
to me, you just described so many... I understand this one's not Japanese, but you just described so many Japanese action games to me. Like, let's not pretend that Nier Automata is solely original.
In terms of that specific premise, it's pretty unique in that regard.
You can find other games like it.
That they go away and they send down robots to fight against.
I mean, maybe not that specifically, but you can look at Nier Automata and be like, I've seen this game before.
But I'm just talking about the premise.
That's nitty gritty. We're like that. You're nitpicking at that point.
No, it was pretty, like, if you were to put up a plot of, like,
Connor, I
IMDb,
just said you can look at Nier Automata, and you agreed. You can look at Nier Automata and be like, I've seen this game before.
Not in terms of the premise.
Okay, great. All right. Overall, not a great showing for Stellar Blade.
Yeah. I'm going to be honest, Tavin.
Yeah.
No, why would I say that? Never mind.
I'm still excited. You're gonna say something about Fantasy Critic or something, but I mean, Stellar Blade was lower on my list of grabs for Fantasy Critics, so I'm standing by it. Next, something cool for the Phil Shoemakers of the world, Sonic Cross Shadow Generations. This is a Sonic Generations port, and it's got a Shadow expansion to it. Yeah, there goes Phil, excited about that.
I knew he was there.
That's cool. Set for autumn 2024. That's very exciting.
Sonic game.
Zenless Zone Zero, Hoi versus next free-to-play MMO adventure?
Yeah. It's like Genshin Impact.
I thought this game was a fucking like 3D action beat 'em up game.
I think it kind of is. Honestly, I thought this game was out. Is it not? I kept thinking it was based off how often they do like
game
character
confirmed to be in
trailers.
development on PlayStation 5. We've seen it at PlayStation 5 events before, have we not? I mean,
we have. I just always thought it was out and they were just promoting the next thing, and I just didn't understand
I
it.
don't know. It was a cool trailer though.
It was. Oh, the presentation, the animation has always been fantastic.
It was good.
Yeah.
It was good enough to make guys like me who hate like the anime, like super anime games, like
Yeah.
where they're like, I hate it. It made me go, that looks kind of cool.
Yeah.
You know, didn't show me any gameplay.
Yeah.
Nothing new. Nothing to sink my teeth into.
Yeah,
I already knew this game existed.
Yeah. I can see myself playing
weird.
it, though.
Foam Stars coming to PlayStation Plus. This is their last attempt to try and sell you on Foam Stars.
I don't
They
think
know
it's
that
gonna
game.
work.
They know that game's going to be a dud. Everybody knows it. Dave the Diver is crossing over with Godzilla.
They just do crossovers over and over.
It's cool. Yeah, I'm into it. Godzilla's cool. V Rising. This was the game that started the trend for me where I'm like, hey, this state of play has some cool games in it. Just Einkun in the chat says Wally when he's talking about humans going to the moon. V Rising started off and I was like, oh Christ, it's another fucking survival game. But then it kept going and it kept going and it kept showing me its combat. It kept showing me its gameplay. And hey, this is what you're supposed to do, Zenless Zone Zero, is you show me what's cool about your game, and then you keep showing me what's cool about your game through gameplay. Funny how that works, right? Anyways, but I thought the trailer started awful, but then it won me by the end. I'm not saying I'm going to play V Rising. Honestly, probably going to miss it because it's probably going to come out some week where, I don't know, the next big PlayStation exclusive is going to come out and I have to review that. But I wouldn't mind playing it.
Same.
It's not a hard no.
When it popped up, I thought it was going to be a video game of the movie V, and I was disappointed. But then I was like, oh, this actually looks good.
It looks good.
Yeah,
it looks like it has like fun combat. You're dodging around. You're throwing magic blasts at people and so forth. You're being a vampire and shit. Looked kind of cool. With survival mechanics, build up a base and all that stuff. Not against it. It's just the way the trailer started. I was like, ugh. And then by the end, I was like, you know what? Maybe.
Good on you guys.
Silent Hill, short message. You said it. Yeah, this game looks awful. And the fact that it was out the same day and I didn't hear anything about it.
I did.
Yeah?
I heard it was very good.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I did. I heard it was a good story. Good little story. Now,
It looked like a boring ass Outlast
did.
ripoff.
it totally did. And I don't know if it's actually good. I just heard it was good. So,
I heard nothing. I didn't hear anybody say anything about it. I know people who I saw people were playing it, and like some people, but they didn't say anything about it. So I'm like, all right, it didn't leave any impact on them.
Yeah.
They don't care. And that brings me to the next conversation, which is I don't know if Silent Hill as a brand is in a good space right now. And I guess you could just say that for Konami IP in general. But Silent Hill 2 Remake had a showing, and it looked super fine. It was fine. Like, as someone who is not familiar with Silent Hill 2, the original, it looked like a Resident Evil 2 remake ripoff, but not nearly as good. It looked like if RE2 Remake is a 10, this looks like a high 6, low 7.
it showed small spurts of gameplay for me to get a bearing on it, on what it has to offer. But the one thing I did take away from this, I haven't played Silent Hill 2. I touched it. I'm going to play it before this game comes out. And one thing that's very striking is that the first time you go in to see like what the world looks like, it's a very famous shot.
Yeah.
It's striking. The music plays. The ambiance is going. It creates this really nice atmosphere, which Silent Hill is known for. I didn't get any of that at any point during this entire trailer. It really just seemed like it was, here's this locale, and here's this locale, and it was just any other generic place you can go to in a survival horror game. So
Yeah, I would not. It sounds like the fandom is not happy with the direction. We're going
that's
in
what I was
here.
hearing.
So, tough, man.
Hey, maybe
makes me worried for this Snake Eater remake too. But it's
possible.
We'll see. We'll see. Judas, from the makers of BioShock. Yeah,
Ken Levine.
BioShock.
It's
Ken
Ken
Levine.
Levine is making.
It's the
I don't
Ken
know if
Levine
it's from
game.
anyone
It
else.
looks like BioShock, and hey, I'm kind of sick of games looking like BioShock. Like in general, I've seen this too many times. We happy few. What's another one? There's
Atomic Heart.
Atomic Heart. Thank you. That was the other example. Just a bunch of games that come out and you're like, these are mid. We don't care about these at all. But Judas had a cool trailer.
It did.
Had some fun looking gameplay. I guess this is why Ken Levine makes BioShock games.
And hopefully he's not too in his own element to where he doesn't do anything interesting.
I like BioShock Infinite.
That's become a minority opinion over the years, Tavin. People have soured on that game.
Yeah, I know, but I like it. It's fun.
Fair
It's got a
enough.
good story. I understand it's corny and it gets preachy with its thematic messaging and stuff, but it's got fun gameplay and it's got a cool twist, and I like it. Metro Awakening VR, Connor. PlayStation VR 2. Here we go. Metro game, baby. Is it enough to get you a PSVR 2, Connor?
It was a really cool trailer.
It looked good, didn't it? It looked like a good game.
I'm not going to get it because it's a VR title. And honestly, the only thing this did was, did I put Metro 2033 on our book game club? If I hadn't, I'm going to. Along with King Kong,
you
the video
did.
game. Oh, I did?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Yeah, but I mean, it captures what Metro is in VR.
Yeah.
Perfect. That's what you need to do.
Nailed it.
Yeah.
Hey, arguably, Metro plays better in VR from what that trailer promised.
It could.
So, you might be looking at the best Metro game, which would not surprise me because the bar's not that high.
It is high.
I like Metro. I like it a lot. Not that high.
It is high.
Best Metro game's like what, like an 8?
Consistently, though. Yeah.
They live in that like 7.
Nah,
round.
8.
7 or 8.
Strong 8 each of it.
First game's a 7. Second game's an 8.
Maybe it is a 7, the first one.
I didn't like Exodus.
Yeah, I know you didn't.
Mostly for narrative reasons, though. Mechanically, it was good.
Always been solid.
Legendary Tales, another VR game. Boy, let me tell you what, this game looked like a VR game.
Yeah, it did.
And coming after how good Metro looked, wow, I could not have cared less about this game. But you do get cool powers, I guess. You get to throw around a shield like your Captain America. You get to equip Mjolnir like Thor and stuff. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, what is this game?
Hey, cool weapons and power. Tone down on the skeletons.
You're beating up. There's a lot of skeletons, right? You're just beating up a lot of them, though. You're tearing them apart. You're just fucking flipping around, stabbing them. It was funny, but it looked like a VR game, like in every sense of the word. So I'm not interested. Dragon's Dogma 2. I said it on the reaction, Connor, and I've said it to you before. This looks like the absolute best Xbox 360 game of all time.
Derogatory.
Now, that is a dig for certain. It looks behind the times. It does. But I grew up in that era. I know what that era is. I know the peaks and valleys of that era. That's the best looking fucking Xbox 360 game we could ever get. That game looks fun. Looks like a good game.
Based off the first one, this is going to be extremely fun. The thing that's not really highlighted in this trailer, I saw after the fact.
RPG decisions and so forth? And
not
dialogue
even,
and stuff?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know about how deep those are going to be.
A little bit more focused on the action.
It's more focused on the action and
Look
whatnot.
good?
Yeah, it looks very good.
Look 2 generations behind, but it looked good.
It looked 2 generations behind in the best way.
It looked 2 generations behind on a modern console.
Fair enough. But one thing the game shows off, but it doesn't say, is that it introduced a new class. So obviously you got your warrior, your heavy two-handed guy, your sword and board guy, your mage, your ranger with the daggers and arrow. They announced so far 2 extra classes, one which is a support one, which is very interesting, and this new one, which is called the Wayfarer, which seems very cool.
Yeah, that's a good word.
It is. That's what drove me to it. Also, what it is, because all the other ones are weapons that are locked behind those individual classes. This one, the Wayfarer, has lower base stats, but has access to every single weapon. So you saw in the trailer, he was switching on the fly from like mage to greatsword. And so
neither of us are gonna play that though.
What, Wayfarer?
Yeah,
I am. Kidding me?
You're gonna go play the fucking barbarian. You're gonna equip one long sword and fucking beat the shit out of people with it.
I can do that with the Wayfarer.
Yeah, but not as good.
No, you do it good. It's just
not as good as the guy who is meant to have the longsword, which is what you're going to use 80% of the time.
And then you bring out the magic.
You're just going to use the magic to heal yourself. That's all you're going to do.
I like the word Wayfarer to have.
It's a good word. It's a very good word. It's attractive. But what you just described to me, I have no interest in that class.
I do. I'll play it.
Now, for arguably the most fun game at the State of Play that was shown here, all right? Rise of the Ronin. Now, every time I see something from Rise of the Ronin, I always go, why did I like this so much when it was first revealed? I always forget why I liked it so much. And then the gameplay starts, you know? Because you look at the game, presentation is fine. Graphically, doesn't look awesome. Like, graphically, it looks like a PlayStation 3 game, you know? But then that gameplay starts, and this motherfucker's got his little grapple hook, and he's throwing himself up on buildings, he's jumping on a paraglider, he's dropping off, hitting a horse, and then he's got this, like, great combat where he's making parries, he's using his grapple, pulling dudes towards him, stabbing them up, blocking, deflecting, parrying, rolling, doing all this cool action shit. This game looks so fucking fun.
It does, but I see this game as possibly being bad. Just how it plays seems like the combat might not be so fun. It looks nice, but I think when you play it might not be.
But you look at it and you know what that game feels like.
See, that's the thing, because that and the style of the game really attracts people. I mean, switching from like, you know, you're fighting with your sword or your spear, and then all of a sudden he's boom, boom, switches out the gun and just pops you real quick. It's very stylistic, very cool.
But how many games do you look at and you go, I know exactly how that's gonna feel? And it's gonna be good.
It reminded me of more loose Ghost of Tsushima. Kind of more, kind of like.
I mean, I would say this is in between Sekiro and Ghost of Tsushima to me.
I see your point with Sekiro with the parry, but I think it's more of a comparison, middle between Ghost of Tsushima and Neo. Particularly the first one that I played. Both have stance systems.
I can see that. Do you think Ghost
of
Tsushima combat's really tight?
Not super tight, but it still seems like this is more fluid.
I think this looks tighter than Ghost of Tsushima.
It looks more like, in terms of its tightness, like Neo. The way you move. And it seems like some of the attacks are more like Ghost of Tsushima.
Well, also, but just the way enemies move in this looks like Sekiro.
I mean, yeah. And Neo as well. That's kind of why, like...
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. I should play Neo.
Good game.
I started it. Oh, I thought it was okay.
Yeah, I agree.
Played an hour. Never played it again. Until Dawn, rebuilt from the ground up in Unreal Engine 5, coming to PS5 and PC. Cool.
It looked nice.
I guess, man, it looks like Until Dawn to me. I don't know. I see the side-by-sides, and I'm like, yeah, okay, those are different. The new one does look better, yes. But, like, when I was watching it, I was like, this is just what Until Dawn looks like. Maybe that's rose-tinted glasses. I don't know. I played the game in 2020. Like, how rose-tinted are those glasses? I also played the Quarry 2 years ago, and I thought that game was awesome. Like, and it's way better than Until Dawn. Go play the Quarry if you haven't played the Quarry. And then here's the one. I mean, you can say it was too long. Maybe there's some truth to that, but I fucking loved every goddamn minute of it, man. Death Stranding 2 on the beach. This is the Kojima bag I want him to be in all the time. Like, we're gonna get weird. We're gonna do dumb shit. And we're not gonna try and make too much sense of it. You're either gonna catch the vibe and like it or not. And that's where I like Kojima to be. All of Death Stranding, we're sitting here, we're looking at we're sitting there going, what the fuck is this game? You're just climbing up mountains and shit, and it just looks like you're just walking around. And then the game came out, and you're like, oh, you're just walking around. Oh, okay, great. And the combat was kind of mid, and driving vehicles was kind of mid, but it had great atmosphere. It had great aesthetic. You really zoned out. You really enjoyed traversing the world on foot. And enjoyed building out the world, building roads, building bridges, building ladders and zip lines and all these things, and delivering packages. It was genuinely the most fun you could ever have delivering packages. And yeah, there was combat and boss fights and cool story things happening and so forth, but all of that kind of paled in comparison to that. And also, it's just not Kojima's best work. This looks like a potential Kojima best work candidate. It looks better than it looks better than Death Stranding 1 ever did. It looks better than, in my opinion, anything Phantom Pain showed us. We were all excited and hyped because it was a new Metal Gear. We were going open world. The gameplay looked great, and the gameplay was great. But story-wise, Phantom Pain marketing always looked like Kojima's just being Kojima, like in the bad ways. This is Kojima in the good ways. And I don't know how to put that in better words, but it just does. Connor, do you understand what I'm going here with?
I definitely do. As someone who hasn't played the first one, a lot of this was just me going, like, looking at it and having like a high-pitched in my mind. I was like, cool, stylistic, awesome. I don't know in terms of the universe of what's happening. And the thing I was looking for is, what new interesting things are you doing with gameplay? And I saw effectively from the little I saw of the first game, nothing. It seems like there were robots in the last one that you can fight.
Robots?
Because it seems like they're including that to get around the world stuff that prevents you from generally killing people. And they're going to make it more
that was the
robot-based.
idea in the past before, is you would build out a highway, literally a highway, and then you drive your big-ass car down the highway. But it took time and effort to build that highway. Mm-hmm. And you built it with everybody else, and that's what was cool about it.
Yeah.
But it looks like they've included more vehicles, more ways to traverse around, and it looks like it does have a little bit more focus on action this time around.
That's what I saw, yeah.
It looks like you're allowed to kill people.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why. I didn't finish the first game, but this did inspire me to download it, and as soon as I have time, I will be playing the first game to completion.
Mm-hmm.
Might even get the platinum, because it's not that hard of a platinum. It just requires a lot of time. But not that much time. Not a Final Fantasy VII amount of time. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I would have more fun doing it. Because delivering packages is fucking fun. Like, you wouldn't believe it, but it is. And so it's like... And also, like, narratively, like, it looks like it's going in more interesting directions to me. From what I experienced in the first game, what I know the character of Sam Porter Bridges to be, and how all of those characters in that game talk like Kojima.
Mm-hmm.
These guys talk like characters, and I'm all about it. With the exception of Troy Baker. Troy Baker was chewing up scenery in the first game, and it looks like he's just gonna do it some more. God, he looks so fucking good.
Guitar bullets.
He was playing an electric guitar that shot bullets, man.
It was cool.
And then he fought a cyborg ninja. What more do you want? That was maybe a baby? What more do you want from Kojima, man? There's a puppet that sits on your belt that moves at half the frame rate as everything else.
Yeah, it's cool. He's Alan Wake.
Huh?
People were making jokes that he's Alan Wake because he kind of looks.
Oh, he looks like Alan Wake?
Yeah.
I mean, Kojima played God of War and said, Mimir, that's a great idea.
You know that's where he got that.
That's 100% what he got. And he's like, let me make it Japanese and weird. You know? I am seriously Death Stranding 2 on the beach. I can't believe I'm saying this. I like the first game. I don't love the first game. Cool 7 out of 10. You know what I mean? There's a lot wrong with it. There's a lot that's really cool about it. But it's not the best game in the world. I cannot believe how excited I am for Death Stranding 2. I genuinely think it's going to be a blast.
Presentation matters.
Stellar Blade. Oh, and then they finish it off. Hey, Kojima's working with PlayStation. He's announced a new game, another action espionage game. This is going to be, I guess, the spiritual successor to Metal Gear, with the working title of Fiznet, something like that. Yeah, it looked weird. But it's also going to be half movie. Some would say Kojima games were already half movie. And, you know, you wouldn't be wrong with saying that. But yeah, he's working with Columbia Pictures and PlayStation to put this together. All right, cool. I don't understand why you need to work with Columbia Pictures to do that, but, you know, PlayStation's part of Sony. Sony is known for movies, but, you know, it's fine, whatever.
It's all about the funding.
I guess. Connor, does an action espionage game from Kojima excite you?
No.
It excites me.
It doesn't excite me because of what the premise is, and it's ambitious, potentially in a cool way, but from how he delivered it, seemed like it was just leaning into the narrative-heavy games, but taking out gameplay substantially. Yeah. So I'll have to wait and see.
It's more exciting to Phil than Death Stranding 2.
Damn. Fair enough. Death Stranding, you know what it's overall about. Meanwhile, this is something new and interesting.
February. March is Phil. April is the wheel. Right?
Yeah.
May.
I see what you're doing now.
May. Ladies and gentlemen, that is it for the 2 Penny Games news segment.
Is it?
Oh, yes. No, it's not. I'm sorry. We got a whole bunch more to talk about. Holy shit. Oh, fuck. I fucked up. Moving on to topic number 2. We just spent, it's an hour long already. I want to go to bed.
Move on.
Off the rails.
Oh, my God, man. I've had a long day, ladies and gentlemen. I've been up since 7 in the morning, and it's fucking 9:30, and I've been nonstop all day. I'm exhausted. I'm sorry. I'll be better. Connor, moving on to topic number 3, your first penny of the day.
We got an article from Game Rant. Rumor, new PlayStation handheld in development. This is from Dalton Cooper. According to a new rumor, Sony could be working on a new PlayStation handheld gaming device. Sony's first handheld gaming device was the PlayStation Portable, and while it failed to beat the Nintendo DS in overall sales, it was still quite successful. Sony followed up the PSP with the PlayStation Vita in 2012, but unfortunately, Sony's second handheld gaming system flopped compared to the predecessor. The PS Vita boosted significant power and some quality games, but sold a fraction of what the PSP did. Many have assumed that Sony would stay out of the handheld gaming space with the PS Vita's demise.
Shout out Persona 4 Golden, shout out Freedom Wars, shout out Severed.
And so far, it has. But a reputable leaker has suggested that a new handheld from the gaming
Axiom
giant
Verge. Shout out
could
Axiom
very
Verge.
well be in the works. You just were a shill.
Guacamelee.
Fucking loser. Popular YouTuber Moore's Law is dead has released a video where the claim is made that Sony is working on a new handheld gaming system. According to the video, PlayStation has already paid AMD to produce the device, but it is still in the very early stages of production and may not actually come to fruition. It's speculated that the device could potentially turn PS4 games and maybe even PS5 games that receive a special patch.
You want to try that whole sentence again?
Potentially run PS4 games and maybe even PS5 games that receive a special patch, and therefore function more like a Steam Deck than something like the PSP or PS Vita. So that way, Sony doesn't have to produce games specifically for the new device. Sony has already dipped its toes in giving PlayStation gamers the chance to play PS4 and PS5 games on a handheld, and the PlayStation Portal device uses streaming to let PlayStation gamers have at least some portability when it comes to accessing their PS4 and PS5 library, though it has some obvious drawbacks that a dedicated Steam Deck-like handheld could solve. While some may be disappointed that the new Sony handheld...
All right, well, now we're just in the fucking... All right, let's just get into it, all right? The PlayStation Portal must be selling really well. Must be going beyond their expectations to where they're even considering this again. Because the Vita flopped so fucking hard, and the PSP was successful, but you didn't buy a PSP to play PSP games. You know, you bought it to jailbreak it and play every fucking game you fucking could on it, right?
Porn!
Yeah.
Sure. Sony has been burned by the mobile sector before. But you look at the Nintendo Switch, you look at the Steam Deck, you look at the monumental success that those devices have had, and you just look at your consoles and what your consoles were powerful enough to put out, and you go, you know what? We could do that. And it wouldn't be that crazy of an idea. Hey, let's run a few prototypes. Hey, AMD, make us a few prototypes of what a PlayStation portable console with the power of a PlayStation 4 and maybe even 5 would look like. You know? I think it makes perfect sense. I think the PlayStation Portal is close enough to give gamers what they want to where they're and at the appropriate price point to where they're like, yeah, sure, fuck it, I'll buy it. Their expectations for the Portal must have been in the fucking dirt, and it surpassed that. And to where they're even willing to consider this again. Should they do it? I think so. It's a fucking huge success. I would fucking love to be able to play my PlayStation 5 games anywhere on the go, or even like old PS4 games just to have. The problem with handheld devices is that it is a dedicated platform alongside a console. And just by that factor, it's going to be, because it's mobile, because you take it everywhere, and because it's smaller, it's going to have less power. So it can't have the greatest games ever on it, because the greatest games ever require the most cutting-edge technology. It can, don't get me wrong, it can still have phenomenal games on it in terms of game design and game, stories and all this, so on and so forth. Persona 4 Golden is the third best game ever made, and it was on the PlayStation Vita. Thank you very much. All of that to say, I lost my train of thought.
No. That was a bad thing.
Oh, that's what it was. Is when you put out these handheld devices, the market is very small for them. So whatever you have up to bat at first is very, very important. And quite frankly, the Vita didn't have anything up to bat. We had an Uncharted game that was all right. And we had a Killzone game that was okay. And then you didn't have anything else prepared for it. Kind of reminds you of how maybe a certain PlayStation VR headset is currently being marketed to the people. Who knows? But the choice to then look back and go, well, what if we made it backwards compatible with PS4 games? And your digital library on the PlayStation 4, which we know is a lot because most people by the PlayStation 4 generation were starting to buy things digitally. Most of my library on the PS4 is digital. So if I buy into this PlayStation handheld device, I instantly have a library of phenomenal games that I can play on it in a new way that I've never played before.
And you see, that's all what it really comes down to. Because I think in the current market, with Steam Decks and with the Switch, having a portable device like a PSP or PS Vita sequel isn't going to cut it if it's not something that also connects to PS4. People love the PS4. It's one of the most best-selling consoles of all time with tons of games that people love. And so offering a way for them to play it without all of the hassle of streaming and doing all of the other convoluted ways you generally would play those kinds of games, if you make one that's dedicated to playing them and some PS5 games, it'll be good. But if it's not, I feel like it'll just fail.
And then, alongside that, you have Insomniac make a game for them. Hey, the next Ratchet and Clank is on the PlayStation Deck. Let's say that's what it's called. The next Ratchet and Clank is exclusively on the PlayStation Deck, but it plays just like Rift Apart. Fuck, yeah, I'm sold. Yeah.
Can the technology get there though with a handheld device?
I think so.
Well, then they'll be
if it plays like it. I'm not saying it does all the universe hopping things that Rift Apart does.
No,
because that does require a PlayStation 5. But if it plays like it, yeah, that absolutely, I would buy that day one.
Maybe it'll teach Switch to
and then on top of that, I can play Last of Us, I can play Uncharted, I can play God of War, I can play Spider-Man. Are you telling me I can play Spider-Man on the go? Even if it's the first Spider-Man game, that's good enough for me.
I mean, if they don't do that. If they do that, Switch needs to take some notes. Make some, higher quality games, higher fidelity games on your next Switch console.
It doesn't look like we're getting that either with the leaks that we've seen lately. It's because scalpers bought, Mr. Einkun, it's because scalpers bought the Portal thinking they could sell them like they did with the PS5 day one. And then A1's in the chat also says, for real, agrees with that.
Hey, A1's. How you doing?
What's up, Anthony? Think so. I think the marketing for I think the marketing for the PlayStation Portal was on point. You knew what you were getting when you bought a PlayStation Portal, and PlayStation delivered upon that. And they put it at a price point that was acceptable. $200, a little more expensive than I would personally like, but that's an acceptable price range for me. If it was $250, then that's a problem. But it's $200, and I'm like, all right, that's fine, you know. And they put it alongside some cool headphones, you know.
Wow.
Hey, Anthony doing good. That's great. But yeah, that's like, and also I don't think PlayStation made that many portals because I don't think they were expecting it to be successful because it's an accessory item. It's not a console. It's an accessory item. Well, let's see what happens if PlayStation commits and makes a console. What happens?
You act like the PS5 doesn't exist.
That's my point. And you make it backwards compatible with PS4? Fuck it, man. I'd buy it just for that.
Chill. Somebody's chill.
I mean, realistically, it's going to be $350, and I don't know if $350 for the PlayStation 4 library on the go is worth it. But if it also comes with 1 or 2 cool day one exclusives, you can only play this game here. Whether it's a Ratchet and Clank, whether it's maybe an Atreus spin-off game from God of War, or it's something to do related to Ghost of Tsushima, you know, or like, I don't know, I can play the Ghost of Tsushima 2 multiplayer mode on my PlayStation deck, whatever you fucking call it. You know?
Yeah, I have a great idea actually. How about something fucking original, huh?
Ghost of Tsushima was original,
but not if it was a handheld version game.
Nobody's gonna jump into a new IP for a new console. You need to have old and new.
Yeah. We can just keep.
But I don't know what new is.
Yeah,
you know,
right?
what is new and who's working on it.
Multiplayer games. Everyone loves playing multiplayer games on the go. Well,
all right. Well, now you're just being annoying.
Well, no. It's not too bad of an idea. People like playing multiplayer games.
People do like playing multiplayer games. I can't get to the next tab, Connor.
Well, that's an important thing.
Yeah. Are we still streaming? Because the computer, it's not like frozen up. Is it just the? No. Yeah. It's still every other app is working except for the one that I need to work.
Oh, that's gonna fix it.
It didn't fix it.
Well,
so, we're gonna try closing. Oh, I can't close it either.
Can't even close it.
That's fucking crazy.
What an amazing development.
Huh.
Speaking of multiplayer games, is usually what we would say.
What broken? I'm sorry.
My web browser is just stuck on this page. I can't manipulate it.
Oh well, I mean, you're not even showing stream what the web browser you're showing is. So
yeah, but we need to read it, Phil.
That's fair. Pull it up on your phone.
That's a good point.
You know what? I'll pull it up on my phone.
There we go.
Since I'm the guy who is reading this next
there it
story.
goes.
Oh, there we go. Well, I still got it. From GameSpot.
Yeah.
Call of Duty will embrace open world missions in next 2 games. This is a report. This article is by Eddie McCook. New information has come to light regarding the future of the Call of Duty series. Insider Gaming reports that this year's game, which hasn't been announced but is rumored to be Black Ops Gulf War, will lean even further into an open-world structure. Call of Duty fans will no doubt recall that 2023's Modern Warfare 3 featured some campaign missions with open-ended structures that allowed players to complete objectives in multiple different ways. These missions, called open combat missions in Modern Warfare 3, were not enjoyed by everyone. GameSpot's Modern Warfare 3 review said these missions had a number of detrimental effects on the game overall. Insider Game reported for the next Call of Duty game, these open-world missions will see the player and their squad pushing through a map that is more akin to that of Far Cry than what's been seen in Call of Duty's campaign missions ever before. The game will reportedly feature ground vehicles to zip around in and a fast travel system. Similar to Modern Warfare 3, the reported Black Ops Gulf War will also feature Call of Duty's traditional linear missions as well. Raven Software is said to be deleting the development of the campaign for the rumored Black Ops Gulf War, with Treyarch allegedly handling multiplayer and zombies. The report added that the popular Black Ops character, Adler, will be featured as a squad mate in the campaign. Additionally, the report said 2025's Call of Duty game, which also has not been officially announced, will include open-world missions as well. Activision has said it has the Call of Duty game lineup mapped out through 2027, and more than 3,000 people are working on the series. A big question is what could change now that Microsoft owns the Call of Duty series through its $74.5 billion acquisition of Activision Blizzard. What we do know is that Microsoft will continue to release yearly Call of Duty games on PlayStation for the next decade and potentially expand the series to Nintendo.
All right.
This sounds like a dumb idea. Who goes to Call of Duty games to play open world games? They tried it with this last one. It failed. It doesn't spark people's interest. Nobody cares.
I mean, Modern Warfare 3 was also made in 6 months.
Even despite that, when people think Call of Duty, they don't think those kinds of games. They think Warzone. They think of their campaign, which have become very popular, and the multiplayer modes, not open world missions, especially when your marketing is saying it's going to be like Far Cry, the game that has not had a good entry since like 4, or a well-received entry since 4. I mean 5 was good.
5 and 6 were both
people were bored of it then.
Yeah, people are bored of it. That's the problem.
Exactly. So if you do that, people are going to be bored with this out the gate. I mean, Avatar's Pandora, that didn't receive a good reception. This is just it seems like they're bandwagoning after it's already left the train has left the station. And they've missed it, but they're trying to chase after it, and I think they're going to fall on their face.
I'm gonna cut them a little slack here. For years, we've been saying Call of Duty is the exact same copy-paste game for a decade. We've been saying this, you know? So when they want to jump out and put their full efforts into... Modern Warfare 3 doesn't count. It doesn't. It was supposed to be an expansion, like a little DLC for Modern Warfare 2, and then they rushed it out the door and made it seem like it was a full-blown title. The campaign was 3 hours long. Like... No, that's not acceptable. It was half-baked, and it came with a bunch of maps from the original Modern Warfare 2, and it failed to live up to the value of $60, $70, however much Call of Duty is going for these days. And it was unacceptable that they sold it at whatever price they did, you know? Mm-hmm. But we're not going to sit here and pretend like Call of Duty doesn't have talented developers behind the wheel. This is the most storied franchise in gaming, you know? And so it's worth letting them give a shot and try something new, something genuinely new. Do I think this is the best way to go about it? No, I don't. I think you could probably find.
Can I say something? Can I say something that might come across controversial?
Philip from the Peanut Gallery, go.
Yeah. So I very recently I've come to think of Call of Duty as the shooter version of Pokemon.
Why?
And because they're very much the same in every iteration. They hardly ever change.
Okay.
Yeah, the copy paste of like the same formula over and over. And I am going to do something strange for me and kind of tip my hat to Call of Duty for trying to change and trying to do things. They just haven't found what has worked for them. I think their first like big change that they've done is adapting to the Battle Royale thing. Which was however many years ago.
Yeah, well, and it wasn't Warzone at first. It was whatever their blackout mode or whatever it was called.
Yeah,
which worked, but it clearly like didn't have the foundation. That's why they made Warzone. You know,
it was just aping PUBG like everybody else, like Fortnite did. You know, there's to different results, and I applaud them for trying something new. But you know, you just got to try harder. You got to do something more than what you're doing now.
And you mentioned Tavin. Piggyback off Phil, that sounds like, yeah, they know how to make games, but you have to question, are they doing this because that's what they think is a good decision, or are the studio heads the same kinds of people who said, we should make Suicide Squad a live service game, getting their hands on this?
But that happened so long ago. The Suicide Squad thing happened so long ago, and then that game had to sit and just in that way. Call of Duty's turnaround is shorter. Yeah. Like, this game was maybe in development 3 years ago, you know? So now it's like, now we have to look at it and go, well, 3 years ago, everyone was still sick of Ubisoft games. So why are they choosing to go this route? I would hope it's because the developers have been aching and have fresh ideas, and they've been begging their publisher to let them do it. But Activision is Activision, and they say, no, you spit out the same game every year and get to whipping on content for Warzone every month. You know, like, I have to imagine this is the result of somebody at Raven, somebody at Treyarch banging against the walls, begging for Activision to let them do this. I have to hope that they have a good idea. Now, like, is this what I personally want? No, but I don't know what I want from Call of Duty in this era. Like, to me, they should just stop trying and just be Warzone. That's what I think. But that's clearly not what Activision wants, because Call of Duty still sells gangbusters every year, and it's clearly not what the developers want. So I'm more than willing to give them the benefit of the doubt and say, hey, they have a fresh idea for this formula that's tried and true. Maybe under the scope of Call of Duty, the Far Cry formula is cool again.
Yeah, I guess they could reinvent the wheel, but I don't really see Call of Duty as being the...
And I mean, let's be honest.
The wayfarer in that.
Let's be honest. Far Cry was cool because of how freeing it was at the time, and then immediately got stale. I would argue it immediately got stale because Far Cry is not that great of a first-person shooter.
Yeah, it is.
No, it's fine.
Yeah,
it's serviceable.
Far Cry 3 is amazing.
No, the world of Far Cry 3 is amazing. The open world mechanics at the time were amazing, but if you go back and play Far Cry 3 now, I'm sure it's pretty fucking boring.
I still like the shooting.
Like I'm like Far Cry shooting is stiff, and
In a good way.
no,
In the same way Metro's stiff, but it's cool.
okay, no, because Metro commits to it. It's every part of their world. Like
Stiffness is inherently like a bad adjective.
yes, but like Metro's stiffness like works for them. Like, but Far Cry's I don't think it does.
You're a rich white boy.
And
you keep picking up a gun. What are you gonna do?
The game. I thought you were just calling me a rich white boy. I'm like, I'm not,
You're not
rich,
rich.
first of all.
I was gonna say you only got 2 out of 3 of those. We're not rich.
Yeah. But Call of Duty is one of the best playing first-person shooters in the world. Like it has been. It always has been for well over a decade. It's been that. You know. Now you can like other ones more or less. You know. But again, Connor, I would tell you the feeling of shooting in the games you've mentioned are not why you like those games.
Yeah, it is.
Okay. I don't know. End of the story. I'm willing to give them a shot. Let's see where this goes. But, you know, I don't know. Call of Duty, what does Call of Duty want to be? I don't know.
Something that we're not going to play. Woo!
I mean, if it looks cool, I'll play it. Problem is that I don't think it's going to look cool. Ladies and gentlemen, that is going to be it for your 2-penny Gamescast this week. Make sure to like, subscribe, comment down below how you feel about this week's stories, and make sure that you drop some topics of discussion down in the comments below for us to react to. We very much would like to do an audience 2 pennies at some point. I say that, but we talk for an hour and 20 minutes. But we don't always talk for an hour and 20 minutes. Sometimes we struggle to hit 40. We'd like to fill that out with the audience pennies for those weeks. Make sure you like, subscribe. You can catch the show every Tuesday, 8 a.m. Central Time, youtube.com/@2pennygames, and mainstream podcast services of your choice. As Einkun in the chat, twitch.tv/2pennygames, Monday at like 6 p.m.-ish, you know, whenever I can get home. Also, you know, wanted to notify, we're on Spotify. We're on Apple Music. We're on Google Podcasts. Go check us out over there, please, and thank you. Make sure you share with a friend. And until next time, have a great time. And Connor, say goodbye to the people.
I lost the squid on this this Bloodborne figure.